I'm currently Martha Stewart's gardener at her house. The farm's 153 acres, so it's not a garden, it's multiple gardens. If you see any dirt, then that's a problem because that's a space where you could put something. And start with vegetables. That's literally like it's like the gateway drug, the garden. Because you can eat them, so you'd be more active to grow them, and then it just kind of works on into the outside. Or right now we have a little vegetable garden. It's half an acre. It's not little. And I've already, at first I was like, this is too big. The key is just learning. Always learning.
So we are here in the garden in Southern California today. It's a beautiful 80-degree day.
Wonderful weather.
And I have my friend Ryan with me.
Hi, everyone.
So Ryan, tell us a little bit about your history with plants and your current work.
Well, I have a long history with plants. I've done that my whole life. I'm currently Martha Stewart's gardener at her house. I've been there for 14 years.
So long history there too.
Long history there, but I've done plants since I was a kid in many aspects. So history all the way across. That's why I wanted to come and see John's garden today, because I'm from Southern California, even though I live in New York. So I was seeing all of his stuff online. It reminds me of all the stuff that I would do when I was younger and as a kid. So I totally wanted to see it. And walking through his garden today, it made me totally reminisce about my earlier years doing it. He does a fantastic job. And it's making me think of all the little stuff that I'd have in my yard when I was younger. And it's like memory lane, even though it's not my house.
So we're in zone 9 here. And what zone are you working in?
We were always in zone 5, but now that they changed everything on paper, it says like zone 7. I don't believe it because we had a really cold winter this year. So I'd say technically it's a zone 6.
Which, that's quite a bit cooler. So your plant palette is totally different. I believe you have summer rainfall, significant summer rainfall.
Exactly.
Which
and humidity.
0 here. Yeah, humidity. So it's interesting. We've talked a lot about, plants from your childhood and things that do well here, but not there. Of course, there's obviously many things that grow well in the Northeast that are not an option here because of the lack of chill
I can do peonies.
Any kind of peonies, right?
Exactly. Any and all, and do them great.
Yeah, not just do them,
stuff,
really excel.
Not so much. All his wonderful little summer bulbs and everything he has around here, can't do them.
Yeah, but that's I think one of the coolest things about getting to travel around the United States, being such a large country with different zones, is you really see the breadth of the creativity that people can express in their gardens.
Well, it's also a cool thing about being a gardener, because even though I'm not supposed to do that there because of the weather, I still try. Just like you have some rhododendrons hidden over here in a corner that do not like this heat, but they're growing perfectly fine, and you're trying them knowing better, and you'd be surprised. Stuff works out. It's like, I look at it as people. Like, I hate the cold. I live in the cold. I hate the cold. I like the warm, but I can handle it. I'm there. And the plants are the same way. A plant's not supposed to grow in a certain spot. You'd be surprised what can make it up. Whatever your zone is, with the exception of something that freezes and rots where it's like going to fully die, it's whatever your zone is. If you're a zone 6, try stuff from a zone 5. It's half the time it's still going to work. Yeah.
And a little bit of it is about how much effort do you want to put in.
Exactly.
Right? Because I think dahlias is a good example where there's a spectrum of effort that you can put in to grow them in a variety of different zones. Do you want to lift them in the fall, store them in a garage, et cetera, et cetera? Well, then you can push them colder. In California, cooler parts of California in the summer, people are not lifting the tubers.
Well, we don't anymore either.
Oh, really?
We used to do that every year, and I hated doing it, and it was a pain to store them over the winter time. Her house in Maine, they store them over the winter up there, but that's like a deep cold, so they have to. Since we're borderline, a couple years ago, we started leaving them in the ground. A few of the real nice varieties I dug out just to be safe with them, and left them all on the ground, and then insulated them with hay bales, or this year we put like a 2-foot layer of mulch on top of them and stuff, and just leave them that way the whole winter long. You lose some, but I'd say a solid 75% came back, and it's like, even though you lose a little bit, it's like I didn't have to dig them up. Yeah. And putting the mulch on it is like, one, we can use it later on in the year, but it's like, it's so easy to do that instead of digging them up, cleaning them, storing them. It's not even the digging them up, it's just storing them and keeping them in the winter from rotting out or anything. That's where the problem lies. Yeah,
because you put in all that extra work and then the heartbreak of digging into the tubers and just finding mush.
And it's always like the special one, and the one most important one, and the one you could care less about, that's the one that just grows great, or the ugly color, and you're like, okay, I have 20 of these because they grow fine, and the one little one that you try to baby, that's always the plant that's going to die. That's just the way it is with gardening.
Fortunately, that rule doesn't just apply to dahlias.
Exactly. Every single plant. If you buy one that's the special you baby, that's the problem. Like, half of the time, the plants you ignore are the best plants.
Yeah, I absolutely find that to be true. So the other interesting thing is, this garden, in absolute terms, the space is quite small. It's a suburban like home garden, but you are working on a totally different scale. So tell us a little bit about that.
It's too big of a scale for me, but it's the farm's 153 acres. So it's not a garden, it's multiple gardens because I have the space there to do that.
It's really an estate, you know?
It's an estate. It's nice to have the space to do stuff, especially like vegetable gardening is my favorite. And so every year I can expand it more and more. Right now we have a little vegetable garden. It's half an acre. It's not little. And I've already, at first I was like, this is too big, after we've already sized up from a few other ones. And now after a couple of years, I'm like, I kind of want to make it bigger or like do other stuff to kind of add on to it. Because once you have the space, you start just playing and start doing stuff and you just want to grow stuff to see what you can do.
Yeah. And just for perspective, half an acre, that's bigger than the entirety of this garden.
That's the vegetable garden.
Yeah. And that's one of many
that's
different
just one
gardens.
little blip on the thing that doesn't even count as the whole property at all.
So you said you've been doing this for a decade and a half, basically. Tell me a little bit about your career path. How did you get to make gardening your career?
So gardening's what I've done since I was a little kid. My dad gardened, my grandma gardened, so it was like more of the childhood hobby. So I always kind of did it on the side, and then I went to school for it. I was going to be a doctor for the longest time, so I was pre-med major, so you have to major in biology, which I'm crazy interested in all the sciences. So I split it and did double with biology and horticulture. So other than having plants as my own hobby, went to school for it at the same time. And then after graduating and getting my degrees in it, every single one of my jobs have all been plant related. I was a plant buyer for Home Depot for many years. I did landscape design out here in California for a while. I did rooftops and little, I don't want to call them backyards, but mainly rooftops and stuff in Manhattan for a while.
Oh, wow.
For about my first year living in New York. And then after that, I've been up at the farm ever since.
Wow.
So I've hit every aspect of it.
Yeah, I mean, so you've been in various different parts of the industry, design and home garden side to the supplier side. I personally know nothing about what it's like to be a buyer for a huge retailer like Home Depot. So I'm curious about like, what is that? What do you do?
That was when I was younger. So I was just a buyer for the store. So I would get to choose what the stores got to get in. There was like main stuff that they used to have in, on the shelves, but then I would always try to like pull all the stuff I was interested in and get all that in. So whenever the vendors would come, I'd be like, no, I want 10 of these to see what this does, or 50 of these. And then like corporate would come in and see stuff and they're like, why do you have those? That stuff doesn't sell. I'm like, they don't sell because you don't have them here. Put them here. After a while, they'll sell. Or it's also like, I want them on the table because I want to take one. I want to take one home and stuff. So yeah, I've hit all those aspects and stuff. And then having my own gardens on the side the entire time of all that too. So it wasn't just work. I'd also go home and still, like I do now, go home, have the garden.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's amazing. Not a lot of people, but some people like myself grow up with that experience of having your own garden, having it be your place to experiment and like really one of your passions. But translating that into a sustainable career is not something that everybody can do.
No, especially out here on the West Coast, both in California, anywhere up, California, Oregon, Washington. It's like we're used to being in nature. Even if you're in a city, it's still so much nature and plants, combination of how much space there is or just the climate. So you kind of learn it at a young age, even if you don't realize it.
People in our generation were more likely to. We have this continuing trend of urbanization.
Exactly.
But there's also, since the pandemic, there's kind of like this countervailing trend of people becoming more interested in growing their own food, becoming interested in keeping plants in their house, and like just becoming a little bit more connected to the natural
Exactly.
world.
It's like what everybody's been interested in the past 5 years. It's how we all grew up in our childhood. That was like normal for us because it was like, the parents had the hobby in that, or like your grandparents did, or people just grew stuff, and then that kind of faded away for a while. Then now all of a sudden people are jumping back on it. I always say it. The two jumps for people, it's always houseplants and vegetables, because they're the two things that people start out with. Vegetables because you can eat, houseplants because they're in the house, and then all of a sudden it's like, okay, I want to have some plants in the yard. That's not a vegetable. I want to do this. But those are like definitely the two springboards.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure you had this experience, especially when you were a child too. I often had at orchid societies or at garden shows or something like that, when you're showing up there as a little kid.
All the nerdy plant boy stuff.
Yeah. Older people who are involved in the hobby are so excited to see young people there and to be demonstrating interest, because there had been this long-term trend of people aging out of like the gardening practice and out of specific plant-based hobbies, and people were really concerned about that.
It's so true though. Like I was lucky enough to, even into my adult life, having all of my grandparents and some of my great-grandparents. So when we were kids, or like, I don't know, 11, 12, we'd go visit my great-grandma, and every time I'd go there, other than all her garden stuff, I'd want to go down to her neighbor friend down like two blocks down the road, old man who probably was 90 years old, and here I'm like a 12-year-old kid, not related to him, and want to go down there because he had all his garden stuff, and he would show me his gardens and give me cuttings to take home, and I distinctly remember that. Or like that's kind of changed. Like in the later years, there wasn't really much of that, and I see people doing that again. Like I love teaching little kids and showing them how to do stuff. It's so exciting.
Absolutely. I think too, like one of the reasons why I want to have this conversation is I've been inspired by seeing people get into the hobby and share their stories and share their excitement on YouTube too. So even if you are not growing up with a lot of space of your own to work with, you can kind of come into contact with the idea of starting even a small space garden or gardening in pots through YouTube.
Exactly.
Through connecting online. And so I think that's like that's an exciting trend too.
It is. And start with vegetables. That's literally like it's like the gateway drug the garden. Because you can eat them, so you'd be more active to grow them, and then it just kind of works on into the outside.
And vegetables, because many of them, they're annual crops.
Quick.
Yeah, they're quick, and they give you a good grounding in understanding things that are important but less apparent to long-term plant growth. The soil chemistry, plant nutrition, you have to understand that and build experience with it to have a successful vegetable crop. Right?
It also teaches you gardening habits in general, because through them you learn about crop rotation and stuff that you don't have to do with other plants, but it kind of tunes you in to the environments, or like you said, what the soil is like, or what the little microclimates or the temperature is like, and because they respond so quickly, you learn the particularities about the plants, and then as you move on to doing different types of gardens, you notice that in other stuff that you normally wouldn't.
Yeah, you're right. It's a perfect foundation, and it's a great introduction to like some of the theory, if that's something that interests you, to get into it as well. I mean, that's one of the things that's a challenge for me about gardening in a small space is I made some cuts, right? Like we don't have a dedicated vegetable garden because I'm so focused on the ornamental part of it, and it's definitely something. If I had, I don't know, maybe a few hundred more acres to work with, my
house at home isn't like that, and you do the exact same thing I do. You just pack it in and let everything fight for itself, even though you're taking care of it, and see what works. That's like the best way to do it.
It's the collector impulse.
If you see any dirt, then that's a problem, because that's a space where you could put something,
or an opportunity. Yeah, it's an opportunity.
We discussed a few of those already. He has some projects he's going to be working on soon. I give him a few ideas about stuff, and he's going to be ripping out some stuff and making more dirt.
That's another reason why I want to start doing this, because my garden has been a deeply personal project for me, but one person, you don't have all the best ideas, and even in your own space, you can't see all the opportunities. So bringing people in who are deeply experienced, who are creative gardeners, to kind of like talk about that and open your eyes to your own space is like, that's incredibly valuable.
But even with the experience, I get ideas from people's yards all the time, and I learn stuff from people all the time. I'll have beginner gardeners I'll learn stuff from, or tricks that I think I know, and there's like new stuff I haven't paid attention to. The key is just learning. Always learning.
Yeah, just the open-mindedness and the creativity, and I appreciate that so much. So thank you for coming today.
Nope, I'm so glad you had me here. It's a wonderful garden. He's done a fantastic job.
Oh, thank you. And you know what, like, sometimes people online ask like, "Oh, is your garden on any tours or anything like that?" And like, it's so far it's not. This is, again, like I said, it's kind of just like a deeply personal project, and I spend every day here, because every day that I'm at this property, I spend it here, and I spend it outside. To me, that was the point of living in California, is that the whole year
completely
you have an outside lifestyle. So all the sitting areas, all the eating, coffee, breakfast to dinner, it's outdoors. Thank you for coming, because I don't do this a ton, but it's incredibly valuable, and I'd like to, share more of what I do.
You can do it a little bit more, but also, like you said, it's nice kind of keeping it to yourself. People can see pictures and what you show online, but like having people walking through, it kind of stresses you out, because you have to you want to feel to make everything look perfect, even though it's a garden. It's not going to be perfect.
Right,
it doesn't need to look perfect.
Yeah, so, I mean, you can see I don't stress too much about that. This is
too selective tours.
Yeah, or even just like, yesterday, it's the first time I published a video tour on YouTube of my garden. I do highlights, I spotlight different things from my collection of plants that I really love, but I had not done that wider view.
That's the way to do it, though, because you can highlight stuff, because it's a garden. Not everything is perfect all the time. Not everything is blooming all the time. So you might have something nice over here, something way over there. So that's the easy way to do it. You have like that little window a couple times a year where everything in the garden looks nice. And then the rest of the year, it's like, it just depends on the day.
Yeah. But, I mean, I also believe a little bit that it doesn't matter if you're in zone 6 or in zone 9. If you have a well cared for garden or a lived in garden, there's always something beautiful or interesting. It doesn't matter if it's dead of winter and you live in a freezing zone, or here if it's 100 degrees in summer. There's something kind of worth seeing. So I think I am going forward. I'm going to at least once or twice a month, I'll do a full tour with spotlights of like what I think is cool.
That'd be great.
Yeah. Because it's a way to bring people in without worrying about the traffic.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly. Show them what you want them to see.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I mean, I'm pretty open about it's messy, you know?
It's not messy.
I live here.
It's not that messy.
But yeah, anyway, thank you so much for
No
coming
problem.
and sharing your story, sharing your expertise. And I'm really grateful that you made the trip out
I'm grateful
here.
you had me up here. It was fantastic. Perfect little getaway today.
Oh, good. That's the idea.
Thank you.
Yeah.